What's up, everybody? Today we're going to go over a live workout and go through a 60-minute workout, and we'll take you from point A to point B. We're going to start with mobility and some breathing to start. First thing we're going to do is lay on your back. You're going to want to get into a hook line position, which is basically with your knees bent about 90 degrees and your hips are about 45 degrees here. So instead of 90, they're at about 45 degrees. Our arms are down next to our sides, palms down or up. We're going to relax the head from here. One hand on the stomach, one hand on the chest. What we're going to do is look at the ceiling or close your eyes. You're going to inhale. When you inhale, the belly or your bottom hand should go toward the ceiling. When you exhale, your belly should drop toward the floor. We're going to continue that. Inhale, belly. And then exhale, belly to the floor. Now we're going to do belly, then chest. So we should feel it in our ribs next. So inhale, belly. Inhale into the chest and ribs. And then exhale it all out through the mouth. We're going to tuck the pelvis a little bit, so squeeze the glutes. So turn the glutes on a little. You'll feel it a little bit in your hamstrings as well. So your hips might go off the ground just a little bit. And in this position, we're going to do the same breathing. So we're going to inhale belly, then chest or ribs. And then when we exhale, we're going to exhale as slow as we can, like we're fogging up a mirror. So we're going to go ahead, first start with an exhale. You just get all the stale air out of our body. So I'm going to go ahead and exhale now. Then I'm going to go ahead and inhale through my nose as quiet as I can, as slow as I can. I'm going to hold my breath. Try to keep inhaling as I'm holding it. And then from here, like I'm fogging up a mirror with my exhale in my mouth, I'm going to go as slow as I can out through my mouth and as long as I can. And when you get to the bottom of your exhale, keep exhaling. You can blow out a little harder. Feel everything collapse toward the ground. Then inhale the same way next time, nice and slow. Hold it. Maybe inhale a little deeper. Keep the core and glutes engaged. Long exhale out. And at the bottom of your exhale, exhale it all out. One more inhale. Hold. Exhale. Keep exhaling. Exhale it all out. Keep exhaling. Feel it in your abs as you exhale it all out. Then from here, go ahead and relax. We've got our breathing down, deregulating the nervous system, and then we're going to upregulate the nervous system through some stretching and some dynamic warm-up exercises before our power work. So first thing we can do, since we're here, is we can go to a figure four position, crossing the one leg over the other. Make sure that the ankle is over the thigh, so the foot is not on top of the thigh. Want the toe to point up, or dorsiflex the ankle. Then we're going to reach for the back of the thigh, if you can, or just hold here and push the knee down. Option one, option two. Okay, option three, you just hold maybe the foot and push the opposite knee down. or you can actively pull this knee toward the chest. And then switch. Option 1. Option 2. I'm just focusing on long exhales. Inhale through the nose and long exhales. If you want to push that knee forward, opposite foot towards your body, then you can actively try to pull that knee into the chest and then relax. From here, let those knees go out and in. Then you can go ahead and hold the inside of the knees and just do some ankle circles on both sides, nice and slow. And then we're going to go the other way. And then from here, supine hamstring. So we're going to straighten one knee to the ground, trying to get the knee to touch the ground if you can. And then from here, we're going to try to straighten the opposite leg. We're going to dorsiflex or point that toe toward the ceiling, the bottom toe, and then point the top toe toward the back of the wall. You're going to breathe and hold here. Trying to actively press this bottom leg into the ground and actively try to get this knee toward the chest, but we're also trying to keep that knee straight, both knees. Taking a couple inhales and exhales, switching side. So always thinking about 3 to 5 inhales and exhales per stretch. If you feel like you need to stay there a little bit longer, then stay there a little bit longer. From here, we're going to go into some hip lifts. We're going to press the feet into the ground and squeeze the glutes. Should feel this mainly in the glutes, maybe a little in the hamstrings. Going to hold. Focus on your breathing here. Just focus on contraction of the glutes and breathing. The belly should rise. Ribs expand on your inhale. And big exhale. Then come back down. Now from here, we'll point those toes toward the ceiling. And then same thing, drive the heels into the ground, squeeze the glutes. Breathe and hold. Okay, you can also cue someone by putting a ring in between or a ball in between the knees so that they don't bring their knees out too much. Come back down. Now we're going to go one leg. So we're going to pull the knee to the chest and then hands drop to the ground and then squeeze the glute, come up, hold, take an inhale and an exhale, and then slowly come down. One more. Try not to arch the back, and then switch side. Should have a straight line from the knee to the shoulder. Come down. One more. Hold that top knee toward the chest. Come back down. Good. From here, let's go ahead and work in a sideline position. From here, I'm going to bend my knees, bring my hands together in this sideline, hook line position. Then we're going to abduct and flex the knee, the hip toward the knee. And then we're going to rotate with our knee bent toward our back side into extension. And then we're going to drive that knee toward the opposite knee. And then reverse, open up. Knee to elbow, and then one more. Pressing that bottom knee into the ground and leg, trying to create some tension to keep our body stable so that we can move through that movement. Then from here, I'm gonna straighten the legs. I'm gonna bring that top leg and toe up toward the sky. I'm just gonna go all the way up, and then I'm gonna turn that toe toward the front of the room, and then toward my head here. I'm just gonna rotate in the sideline position. And I'm gonna bring it down. And then from here, I'm going to point that toe toward the ground and then raise the heel up toward the sky. On an exhale on the way up. Big exhale on the way up. And then come back down. Then from here, we're gonna go ahead and switch side. First, starting with that hip car. Nice and slow with that knee bent. You're just going through all ranges of motion of that hip with that knee bent. Good. And then from here, go ahead and raise the leg all the way up toward the sky so the toe's pointing toward you. And then you're going to turn the toe toward the front of the room and then toward the back of the room. And then we're going to rotate in this sideline position. And now we're going to go toe up. Actually, sorry, heel up. Toe touches the ground. And then raise on your exhale. Good. And then from here, let's go to the hands and knees position. We can mobilize a little bit of tissue now, starting with our calves. You can use a roller or a ball. But just working the calf a little bit as a break from some of the stretching. You can also do this before your stretching and activation. But just showing you the different places that I feel like I might need to grab before I get into my workout. Right side feels pretty good. And usually this is just a tissue tolerance check, which is psychological. It's also determined on your past experiences. So if you do this a lot, you may not feel it as much. So if you're new to this, it might be really sensitive or it may hurt, but over time you'll be able to tolerate that pressure, which gives you more resilient tissue. And I don't think you can argue against resilient tissue, because if you have resilient tissue, that's probably a good sign of tissue durability and reliability, right? So being able to endure any type of pressure from the outside world, it's not going to affect us because, one, we've been able to build that tolerance up, and two, we're obviously going to work these capacities. So obviously we're going to work the hip rotator as much as we're going to roll it. And we're going to work the calves as much as we're going to roll the calves. So everything has its own course. Typically you want to foam roll before you get started. You can do it before the breathing. But today we're kind of mixing it in with our warm-up, which is not what I typically do, but getting the glutes here. Now going for the lower back. I like to place it underneath my lower back, get into that bridge position. Then from here, what I do is just take a couple inhales and exhales. I like this pressure. I like how it just kind of expands my breathing. I don't want to spend too much time here. And I want to make sure there's no pressure on the actual spine, that I feel it in the muscles next to the spine. Then from here, I'll place one foot under the other and open up the hip toward the ground. And I should feel this on the bottom side hip, that lower back side. And so I'm gonna feel that in the erectors, the QL. On that side of the lower back. Take a couple inhales and exhales here. And then I'm gonna switch sides, holding each position for about 2 to 3 inhales and exhales. So for about 10 to 20 seconds, whatever your tissue tolerability, durability, or resilience is, or tolerance is, depending on your level of performance. Now we're gonna move to the upper back. We're gonna go in between the scapula and then rotate side to side, but keep our feet fixed and pressing into the ground. Really all the movements coming from the upper back. You can raise those arms overhead. Try not to extend your neck too much or flex it too much. And then from here, we can just do some shoulder slides. I can also perform little thoracic extensions over each vertebrae. Notice I say thoracic, not cervical or lumbar. You can kind of work this area of the back and just articulate the vertebrae in that area. I can hold it, isometrically contract against something in these positions. So all thoracic movement prep there, and then getting the lats, draping the arm over the roller, and then first working the transverse plane from the chest to the posterior lat, or the back of the body. And you're feeling the pec major minor, serratus anterior to the serratus posterior, and also you're going to feel it in the lats, the connection points to that glenohumeral joint, which you might feel some rotator cuff muscles or tendons in there, or maybe even you're going to feel it in your posterior deltoid here as well. So if you want to bend the elbow, you can just do some internal and external rotations while you're here. And then you can also press the roller into the back of the deltoid. And then if you wanted to work anterior to deltoid to the front of the shoulder, you'd have to put your shoulder in extension. It's definitely sensitive because I don't do that much. Switching side. Rolling chest to back first. Especially if you're going to press, or if you do a lot of pressing motions, you want to try to massage that tissue frequently to keep it loose. Otherwise, it'll probably stiffen up. So that's why massage, stretching, all that stuff is good for your muscle tissue quality. But if you only do that, that's probably not good. So I would say you definitely have to have strength training and eat a balanced diet in order to have everything. So working from chest to lat to back up to the posterior deltoid with internal and external rotation. I can spend as much time as I need here, but for the sake of this video, we're not going to spend lots of time. But you can always spend extra time in any of these places if it feels extra sensitive or good. Adductors, quads, TFL. Starting with the adductors and vastus medius, going from knee to hip, and rotating as I do that from medial to anterior side of the quad. So those three areas, you can go right next to the knee, right in the middle, and then right toward the inside of the thigh. And then you can rotate to the quad while you're in those positions. Just switch side. Just getting yourself into these positions before your workout definitely gets your heart rate up. So you might not be doing much, but at least you're getting your heart rate up. Now you can always cut foam rolling out of your recipe, but I do not recommend it. Usually people take it out because it's the last thing of their priorities, or someone told them it doesn't do anything, so they don't do it anymore. Going from medial inside of the quad to the top front of the quad. Now I'm going to get mainly the quad. I go 2 at a time or 1 at a time. I'm going 1 at a time here, quad from knee to hip. And then to find that TFL, I go to the top of the hip, next to the pocket. I turn to the pocket where my pocket is. You should feel some muscle the size of a bar of soap. Then you can go from quad to outside quad, IT band, which is usually be tight in that area because it connects all the fascia in your quad, which is an elastic wrap around your muscles. And that elastic wrap around your muscles keeps your muscles nice and together. If it's too tight, you're either running a lot, you're not getting enough water or recovery, and supposedly that can cause a lot of problems. Oh, so the TFL on this side going toward the pocket, front to side. Sometimes you feel it right on the front of the hip and just slightly outside. You can make that bottom leg go numb. Just relax it and then turn in and out of there. One side you might feel more than the other. That's your TFL, tensor fasciae lata. Let's finish the stretches. So let's get back into our stretches. Let's get into a nice half kneeling position. Okay, 1 foot in front of the other. Pretend that you're on a railroad track. Okay, that can help. And then just put the toes and heels right outside of that railroad track. Okay, then from here, make sure that the heel is underneath the knee. We're going to squeeze that back glute and just lean forward. We're not going to arch the back. We're just going to lean forward. We bring that knee over the toe. Then we're going to bring both hands down. Make sure that toe is in front of the fingers. We're going to rock to the outside of that leg. And then from here, opposite of that front foot is going to be planted. And then we're going to raise the open arm toward the sky. And then you can tuck that back toe, extend that back knee. And from here, you can slide the feet forward and go into a reverse triangle, or you can go into a triangle. And then back to that position, switching side. Just regress by starting here. Hands down, rocking toward that outside leg. And then straightening that back knee. Opening up. And then sliding those legs together. Okay, and from here, do a little cat-cow. Around the back. And then we're gonna arch the back. Around the back. And arch the back. Let's go through 5 cycles. Good. From here, we'll push those hips toward the sky, or pull those hips toward the sky. Feet are about hip width distance. So about a bar soap in between each other. From here, just head through the shoulders. And then look up, head down, look up, knees down. If that hurts your wrist, you can just focus on some different things, maybe on your back, or go into some different positions. If the wrist gives you issues, then you need to probably just stay off of them until they get back to your old ways. This, what we're doing here, is a nice little ankle quad stretch. From here, what we're going to do is go into our adductor rock. So we're going to go into hands and knees. Knees will go wide. You're going to sit on the heels, and then you're going to open up one leg. And then from here, trying to get straight back, you're going to hinge back on your exhale. About 3 rocks on each side. Sometimes I like to just start with the short lever rock, and then I go to the long lever rock. Good. From here, the little quad. So I'll get in the half kneeling position. It's a little bit more advanced. You can hold on to a wall for this one if you need to, but I'm going to reach for that back foot. I'm going to look forward. Try to pull that heel to the glute. A couple inhales and a couple exhales, and then switch. If there's any pain here, don't do it. You can just sit on the heels in that kneeling position I showed you earlier, or just skip it for now. Okay, so we've got most major lower body muscles. We'll get into a little of the upper back and lats now, and shoulders. So we go hands and knees, and from here we can reach through with our thumb up and our front arm thumb up, and then just bring the forehead or the top of the head to the ground. About 3 inhales, 3 exhales each side. In this position, you can also cross the arms, give yourself a hug. And then you can also create a little bit of isometric tension in those positions if you want. Okay. Now we'll go into the thoracic rotation. Quadruped, knees will be wide. I'm gonna bring my elbows in front of my knees, hand behind my head. Open up back, look up toward the ceiling. Take about 3 to 5 inhales and exhales here. And then switch. Okay. Now I'm going to get into some more dynamic warm-up exercises. These exercises are the in-between between stretching and the dynamic stretching. So the first one is going to be the half kneeling or split squat. So get in the half kneeling position to start, like you're on a train track line. Make sure the big toe is down. Then from here, you're going to work both your legs toward each other. So if I go in that half kneeling position and I'm on the line for advance, if you want, you can just put the feet, the toes and heels next to the line. From here, pushing that front foot toward the center of the mass and the back foot toward the center of the body. And then I'm going straight up. Okay. I'm going to tap and go up on the way up. So it's just a tap and go. Okay. So we're doing a tap and go. This is a split squat. We're gonna go 3 to 5 reps. I'm gonna go for 3 reps. And for your warm-ups, you can always do about 5 to 8. Feeling good, I'll do 5. Okay. Then I'm going to work my hinge pattern, okay? My feet will start underneath my head and underneath my hips. I'm going to reach one arm forward and the bottom leg will be my opposite leg. And the back leg is going to reach back in a straight line, okay? I'm trying to get parallel with the ground in that hinge. My bottom knee will be slightly bent. And then I'm going to stand back up like I'm being measured. Okay, and then I can also raise that leg to 90 and hold the opposite arm forward to make that a little bit more dynamic. Make sure that big toe's on the ground. We're going to go for 3 to 5 reps here. So this is the single leg to march. Okay. I'm going to try to focus more on that back leg getting straight. Okay, now we're going to get into our lateral squat. The lateral squat, it's nice to have a little counterweight to reach with, such as a med ball. So when I hinge and when I drop into my hip, I can counterweight that with the ball. Okay, so it's going to look like this. I want to make sure that I'm not too narrow. I don't want to look like that. And I don't want to have too much lateral translation. Okay? So toes are forward. I'm going to reach forward. Let's squat. One leg stay straight. The opposite knee bend like you're opening up for a squat. And then stand back up. These you can do for about 3 to 5 reps. Okay? Now we've done stuff in the frontal plane, the sagittal plane. Now we're going to work, well, you are working the transverse plane on one leg as well. So you're hitting all 3 planes there. Now let's work a little motor control. So this is the half kneeling hip flexor, static isolated stretch. What I do is I just place my foot on top of a 4 to 6 inch box and then try to raise the foot into the air. When I'm doing that, I'm contracting that hip flexor on that side. I'm going to try to hold it for 10 seconds and then repeat as needed. So I'm going to start with that 10-second hold. Trying to lose your body form, like arch in the back or head forward. I'm going to switch side and alternate it. You can use the dowels for some tension. Try to look at the horizon. Okay. Just going to do 2 10-second holds there. If you want to add in more, that's fine. Okay. Then I can also add in an elevated 90-90 with the hip raised and then hinge over the hip. Okay. Obviously, I could use another pad as a regression. I'll bring it all the way down and try to get the knee on the ground. Okay. So you can hold that. It's another good hip rotator stretch that I might just hit for 5 to 10 seconds on each side. For beginners, you might have to hold it a little bit longer, obviously. But sometimes I just get in and out of stretches quickly because dynamic stretching and movement through the stretching is going to be as beneficial as those static positions. So working and moving through ranges of motion is that dynamic flow. All right, now we're going to get into some dynamic stretching. So after the dynamic stretching, we'll get into our power. Then we'll go over our strength exercises. And we'll do 1 set of each, and then I'll let you know what the conditioning is, okay? And then I'll save some time and energy on filming, and you can just perform as many sets as you need or want, or just go along with the video. All right, so for the dynamic warm-up, I'm gonna step with my left foot, hold my right knee toward the chest, and then while I do that, I want that bottom toe pushing into the ground as I pull the knee into the chest. Looking for that triple extension of the toe, knee, and hip. Okay, now I'm gonna get 3 on each side. You can do these moving forward or in place. Okay, now I'm gonna do a leg cradle, same thing, but I'm gonna rotate the hip, pull over top of the ankle and shin, trying to keep that bottom toe down. Heel's gonna stay flat on the ground, 3 on each side. Okay, that's your leg cradle. Now heel to butt with a forward lean. So it's your single leg reach, your single leg deadlift, but you're adding in a more complex movement. So you can regress with just a single leg reach. Okay, make sure it's opposite arm forward as the foot, the head. Okay, or if you want to advance to the heel to butt with a lean, go for about 2 on each side. Okay, now we're going to get into some marching. Opposite arm, opposite leg. The hand is right underneath the chin, and you want those arms to move quicker than the knees. Otherwise, you won't catch up, and you'll end up going left arm, left leg. We want left arm, right leg. So we're always thinking of contralateral movements, coordinated movements. So you can find out a lot about someone's coordination just by seeing if they can march in place. If they can't march in place, start there, okay? You can go front, back, side to side, and then turn marching and skipping, okay? So starting with marching, you're gonna move forward. You wanna slam the ground with those feet. You should feel it. And then you're gonna walk forward and then try to go faster until you can't go fast enough and you have to stop. It'll only take 5 seconds for you to get winded from that. From that point on, we're gonna move backwards. So we're gonna start with our march. Beginners will need 60 seconds of rest between exercises. So you may need to pause it. Making sure each time you're getting that knee above the waist. A lot of times people slowly digress in their hip flexion. And we want to make sure that is the main focus. Now we do lateral march. Okay, beginners, you'll have to rest. Because you want to develop this anaerobic power like I'm doing, being able to do it without as much rest. Eventually you'll get there. Okay, now heart rate is going to be definitely higher, so I'm going to take a little bit of rest here, as you should if you've been copying me. So I'm at 140, so I'm definitely in the aerobic training zone. Okay, now I'm going to turn that march into skip. So I march in place and then turn that into a skip pattern. Okay, I can go side skip, lateral skip. Same thing. I can also do reverse or backward skip. Okay. So first starting with marching. March in place, and then skip in place, and then skip across. And if we're going to laterally skip, if I'm skipping this way, I'm going to push off this hip on the outside. So if I'm moving to the right, I'm pushing off the left. So if I skip in place, push off the left, push off the left, and then opposite. Okay, you gotta keep those arms moving too. Sometimes you'll forget about the arms. After some side skipping, you'll definitely want to take a break. Okay, now our body is prepped and ready for movement. I could now do some more lateral work, okay? On some days I'll do more linear dynamic stretching, and then some days I'll do more lateral dynamic stretching. So if I'm doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split, I'll do more lateral work on Wednesday for one phase or for 4 weeks, and then I'll go to lateral work twice a week for one phase of training, okay? And then every phase of training is about 4 to 6 weeks, and then each phase of training should progress on top of the next phase. And then when you hit a new season, you kind of re-examine your whole approach, make sure that you're hitting your goals. So then you create 3 new phases correlating to that season, and that's how you create programs. Okay. Now we can do some power. So jump, slam, and lift. So you can do Olympic lifts. So something like I would consider kettlebell swing or a jump with weights, a lift or Olympic lift. You could also do a clean and jerk, a snatch, those types of things for your lifts. Your med ball throws or your tosses, chest passes, slams overhead, rotational slams overhead. It could be passed to the ground over, bent over, pushed to the ground. You could also do some side throws or some chest passing or some overhead throws at the wall. And then for your jumping, you can do hurdle jumps, box jumps, step jumps, any type of jumping skill. We're going to perform some vertical jumps with weights today, followed by some med ball slams and some hopping drills. Okay, so first I'm going to start with a vertical jump with weights. This is a good substitute if you don't have barbells or if you have limited space or equipment. You can also hold on to a med ball while you're doing this if you wanted to. I'm going to get into the ready position. I'm going to squat not parallel with my knee, but above my knee, and I'm gonna stand and jump and try to shoot up toward the ceiling. I'm gonna go for 5 reps, okay? You can go 3 to 5 reps for power exercises, 3 to 5 sets for 3 to 5 minutes of rest in between sets. Or what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna partner all these power exercises together. As you get more advanced, you can perform 1 set and then a superset, and then you can perform tri-set. So after you've progressed in your training, you can do multiple exercises in a row before you need some rest. So I'm gonna perform the vertical jump with the weights for 5 reps, and then I'm gonna move to the rotational med ball slams overhead, and then I'm gonna move to some hopping, okay? Feet are about shoulder width distance, look straight ahead. Okay. Overhead rotational slam. Hopping, I'm going to perform linear hop, medial hop, lateral hop on the same leg, and then switch, okay? We go 3, 2, 2. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to try to stick the landing. And then 2 for my lateral. 2 for medial. And then switch. I'm just jumping over lines that are 2 feet apart, trying to stick the landing. Good. Now you rest. So now you can rest anywhere from 60 seconds to 3 to 5 minutes if you really needed to get your energy levels back. So I'm going to show you one example of the power set. Now you could repeat that. If you're a beginner, you probably only need to do 1 set. The next week, do 2 sets. Following week, do 2 sets. Week after that, do 3 sets. So progress in your workouts weekly, okay? Now I'll show you the strength aspect of the workout. So we perform a lower body, followed by an upper body, followed by a core exercise, okay? We try to make the exercises conducive to the spaces of the gym that we're at. So if we're using cable, then you want to use multiple exercises at the cable machine as opposed to using cables with kettles with dumbbells, that type of thing. So trying to make sure that when I teach you these exercises, it shows you that, you know, okay, you don't need that much space in the gym to do that. All right. So let's go over the first 3 exercises. The first 3 exercises, you want to first start with your hardest lifts. So for today is a knee dominant day and a push day. My first lift is going to be my 1-legged squat. I want to find a box to about parallel to the knee or a little higher. If you're more advanced, you can go lower, but you want a depth marker so that the individual knows where to stop and where to touch. And this depth will allow them to go in the consistent pattern we want them to go in as opposed to an unknown range. We don't want them to sit, lean back, and drive using momentum. That's going to put a lot more strain on the spine, especially if you have weight on the shoulders. So for this one, it's going to be a goblet squat, touch and go. And for some individuals who lack the ankle mobility or who enjoy a heel board, this is the time to do that. For option 1, okay, is your goblet squat, holding a weight, 5 to 8 reps. Option 2 is going to be a split squat, which is what we did before, but holding weight in our front squat position. And then option 3 is going to be our 1-leg squat, which I'm going to perform with some weight to counteract the load. So I can use med ball, or I can use these 10-pound weights. I'm gonna go for 5 reps and then switch side, okay? So I'm gonna use these weights to reach out in front. It may be a little bit too heavy, so I'm gonna go with a med ball instead. I'm gonna tap and go. If I wanna make this harder, I could put a weight vest on, okay? Or I could hold on to a heavy dumbbell or kettlebell. So I'm gonna touch and go. Okay, I feel like that was a little bit too high. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's your one leg squat. Now we're going to move to our upper body. So since we have our box here, if you're using it, or a 12-inch box, whatever it was for your measurement and knees, we're going to now use it as a incline push-up. So we're going to elevate the feet and go for 10 to 12. Or you can elevate the hands to make it easier, okay? If the regular push-up or incline push-up doesn't work. So regress the push-up or hands elevated. So I got 10 there. Now I move to core. Now I could use the same setup for core as well. I'm going to go into a bear push-up plank. So I have to think, all right, I was just on my hands, maybe a bear push-up plank isn't a great idea. I could also perform a sit-up on my back to take the pressure off my hands. If I want more of a chest and to strengthen my wrist, then I will go for that bear plank. Or if my wrist hurt, I can just go with a forearm plank reach. It's gonna look like this. Reach and touch, reach and touch. Okay, if you want to increase the capacity of the wrists, and you have no wrist injuries, then bear plank reach. 4 on each side. Okay, now if that one was too tough for both the forearms and the hands on the ground in that bear position, then just hold a plank for that position, okay? So that is the end of the first pod of exercises. So in each pod is 3 exercises. This pod we had our one leg squat. We followed that up with our upper body push, then a anterior and rotary stability exercise. Now we're going to move to a pulling exercise, which we're going to do with a pull up, and a hip dominant exercise, which we're going to do a single leg deadlift, then a pull up, and then we're going to do lateral core. So we hit rotary core and anterior core. Now we're going to hit more side core with a carry. Okay, so we're really going to be working on our pulling strength, our wrists and grip strength today with a lot of the exercises, as well as that push strength ability. So in our next pod, we're going to move to our single leg deadlift, which we can use a kettlebell or a dumbbell. In this case, I use 35-pound kettlebell. I'm going to go for 8 reps. I'm not concerned about the strength here because I worried about that strength aspect in that first exercise in my one leg squat. So I don't want to overdo my legs today and go super heavy with both of my exercises. I want to think of that first lift is my main priority lift of the day. The next lifts are just kind of to keep your strength in those patterns, but making sure that the next day you follow it up with focusing on that pattern, okay? Then every day has a specific pattern. So today is more of a push and knee dominant pattern, which we started with, because we're going to have another push dominant pattern and knee dominant after this. And then the middle of our workout, or the second pod, is our hip dominant pattern, our pull pattern, and then our lateral core. Core you can mix up from front core, side core, diagonal core, and lateral core. So single leg deadlift, feet are under the hips, look at the horizon. From here, I'm going to reach out with my arm, reach back with my leg. The hand that goes down is opposite of the leg that is staying stable on the ground. I want to go right over the toe, stand right back up. Control on our way down, and come right back up. Make sure the big toe is grounded. Again, about 8 reps here. So when you're playing with strength, you want to think 3 to 5 to 8. And then hypertrophy is more in that 10 to 12 range. So we're still working strength here as long as you have that load heavy enough. Or in your second set, you might have to bring that load a little bit heavier if you felt like 8 was easy, okay? Don't let that back hip go out. Looks like this. Okay, now I go to my upper body, which is gonna be my pull-up. I coulda, shoulda, woulda started with my pull-up there because that is a tough exercise, but I'm probably gonna start with a pull-up exercise my next workout. So I will prioritize that pull-up by putting that as my 1A, okay? So our first 1A was our knee dominant pattern. My next 1A for my next workout might be a pulling pattern, just because I know that, say I got really strong hips, I know that doing a hip pattern after a pull pattern is gonna be easier than a hip than a pull pattern, because the pull pattern, I'm heavy, so I have a lot to pull. And I'm looking for anywhere to 3 to 8 reps when I do a pull up, because I know that's building strength. If I can do more than that, then I need to increase the load to increase strength. If I want to increase muscle size, I need to get 10 to 12 pull-ups, but I'm not working on that right now, okay? So, working on strength. Okay, if I wanted to work more on hypertrophy, could do more cable rows, one-arm rows with some dumbbells. So starting with my pull-up, underhand grip, a little bit safer on the shoulder. Hands are about shoulder width distance. Okay, so I got 8 there. If I would have started with the pull pattern, I probably could have gotten 10. Okay, so now I've got my pull pattern. Now I'm going side core. I'm gonna go with a 1-arm carry. When you're carrying, try not to swing the weights. Keep the weights still as you walk on a line. Okay. Keep your head tall. Look straight ahead at the horizon. If you got rings on, you might need to take them off. Anywhere from 25 to 50 yards with 1-arm carries at a heavy enough load during your exercise. So that is pod 2. We did a hip pattern, pull pattern, side core pattern. Now we're in pod 3, so we're going back to knee dominant. We're going back to push, and then we're going back to another core exercise. The knee dominant pattern is going to be a lateral squat, since we've been doing a lot of things. Well, we did the 1 leg hip lift, or we did the 1 leg squat, 1 leg deadlift. Those are both in all 3 patterns, but the lateral squat is a true frontal plane exercise. Okay, so let's go ahead, find some weight that we think is in that 3 to 5 range. I don't like to do too many reps for lateral squat. Definitely tougher for most individuals. You want about a 4 feet gap between the feet. You want that goblet position of the dumbbell or kettle, and then the knee and elbow will meet on the way down, and it's a big exhale on the way up. So next one is going to be a 1-arm press. All you need is a bench. So you could use that same weight, go heavier. I'm probably going to go a little heavier. So the lateral squat I did was about 35 pounds. This is about 50 pounds, 1-arm press. I like this one because you have to really use your core and not rotate, so you have to stabilize with your core and get a good pressing motion with 1 arm. Working my weak arm first and taking the ring off. Other arm out for stability. Press those feet, squeeze the glutes. Good angle with the elbow. Don't want it up high or too far in. I'm gonna go for more for hypertrophy here. And switch side. All right, so there's your 1-arm press. And since we're using a bench, we can go and use this bench for our core if we wanted to, or we can go right next to our bench on the ground for our get up. Now you can use weight for your get up or no weight, doesn't matter. So first start without weight, same knee bent as the arm that's in the air. You're gonna exhale to the elbow and then try to straighten the elbow and hand press into the ground. Lift the hips, step through, reach up, stand up. Step back, hand down, step through, reach, slowly sit down, and then we'll try the other side. With your get-ups, you can alternate them to save one side at a time. Or you can do the same side 2 to 3 reps. I'm just gonna do 1 rep there, okay? With the weight, without the weight. And then slow on the way down, option 1. Option 2, hips up. Other side, option 1. Option 2. That's your get up, and that's pod 3. So let's talk about what we just went over. 3 pods, knee and push dominant day with a hinge and pull pattern with your core. All major patterns of exercises in one workout. Now we hit conditioning. So we'll go on the bike for 8 to 10 minutes doing intervals, 10 to 15 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And then, or we do 20 minutes of long, slow duration training, which keeping your heart rate between 110 to 140. So in between that range for about 20 minutes, and that's your workout. So I showed you examples of pod 1, 2, and 3, 1 set each. Beginners should just do 1 set, and then each week maybe add a set in your first 1A, B, and C, and then keep it 1 set in your B and C pods. And then once you get to week 3, add a second set in pod B, and then so on, adding sets, and then eventually getting to 3 sets for your workouts, and then moving on to your next phase of training. All right. Hope you learned some stuff today. Let me know what you learned. Check out my YouTube page and subscribe. Adios.